peace as we gather as light workers and continue on with our next presenter. A great guy. He's a Coptic board member, a Coptic minister. His name is Steve Krejcik, and he's a teacher, a healer, a founder of the Grey Wolf Healing Therapies, and he has helped thousands clear emotional and energetic roadblocks using his techniques of the Q'ero shamans of Peru. He has publications and has published numerous articles of self-improvement and spiritual growth, and Steve begins and believes that one's highest goal in life is to know yourself, and that we measure our spiritual progress by the level of inner peace, joy, and love that we feel and express. Please welcome Coptic minister Steve Krejcik as he presents Beginner's Mind.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's a great day so far, huh? Yeah. Well, today I'm going to share some ancient wisdom of the Q'ero shamans of Peru. This wisdom has been kept secret for thousands of years. Until just recently, their prophecy said that the people of the north would take over the tradition. So then they came forth and brought this information out. So don't be fooled by the simplicity of this information. It's really something profound. So today I'm going to talk about the beginner's mind. I just, where's the organ music when you need it? Okay. So our society is really big on how many years of education you have, on how many titles you have. But from the point of the shamans, the ancient shaman teachers, all of this information is great, but it's not going to teach you, it's not going to make you happy. It's not going to help you in the end. It might help you to get some money, it might help you to get rich, but is it really going to help you to get happy? You know, which we're all really looking for. So what they teach is that we want to chuck all of that learning into the garbage can and start fresh, because then, just then, you will be free to reinvent yourself. Every single belief that we have up here is self-limiting. So as a personal example, when I was growing up, you know, I was always taught that you had to do your homework before you went out and play, right? How many people heard that? You know? Then I got my first job when I was 14 in a fast food restaurant, and what did they do? It was almost like they had this verbal whip, you know. You had to be working every minute, or you would get this verbal whipping, you know, work harder, you know, for that whole $1 an hour or whatever I was making, you know. And then also, what I saw my father, who had to work 80 hours a week just to survive. So with all of these experiences, you know, I learned this false belief that activity and accomplishments are good and necessary for survival. How many people have that, huh? Yeah. So basically, I feel uncomfortable if I'm just lounging around before I get some work done, you know. So on the weekend, I got to get up and work. I can't just go play. That's just because that's a false belief inside of me. But basically, it causes unconscious stress. But the actual feeling that's underneath it is shame. Shame that I'm not going to be good enough. You know, shame that I'll be up here talking and I'm not going to say my words right or something, you know. So this is really the underlying feeling when we think about it. But the thought is, you know, I have to get work done. But the feeling is shame. So typically what we do, because these things are below our conscious mind, they all get bunched up into a term that we call stress, right? You know, how many say that I'm stressed out, you know. So basically, every single belief that we have is self-limiting. So now just take a moment yourself and think about some belief that you have. And if you have a piece of paper, write it down and throw it in the garbage can. Be done with it. Just think about it in your mind for a moment. What do you have? What belief that you have in your mind that doesn't serve you? So when we think about life, and think about things, everything has multiple levels of awareness. So it's like peeling the layers of an onion that's the size of infinity. No matter how many layers you peel, there's always more to learn. There's always more there. And if you think you've learned everything, there's no room for more information. So we want to keep that in mind. So like, for example, who knows what water is? Okay, right? So knowledge of water is to say that it's 2 oxygen atoms and 1 hydrogen atom, right? So we know about water, right? But the shamans say to really know about water is to know how to make it rain. How many people know how to make it rain? Okay, good. So we got some water experts here. Another example of this diversity and different levels of thought is if we look at, like, say, reincarnation. Okay, one idea of reincarnation might be that there's past lives, right? And that's perfect in the linear point of view of time. But if we step out of time, then you could say all lives are happening at once. So now there's no more past lives. So maybe a life in the future is before the life in the past. Or, if you want to take it a step further, you could say that reincarnation would be like, we're all like rays of the sun. Each ray being a different soul in a different point in time. And the rays that are around you are the ones that you feel most affiliated with. And the rays that are further from you are the rays that maybe you don't feel so comfortable with. This could explain why, there's 100 Cleopatras, right? Because there's a lot of different rays around that energy that we call Cleopatra or Abraham Lincoln or whatever. So there's infinite ways to think about any situation or concept, and no single one of them is more valid than the next. Each level up the scale of consciousness that we go, it is harder to grasp from a thinking point of view. So every time as we move up the scale of consciousness, we must let go of the old thoughts. We must pitch those old limited thoughts in the trash can, 2 points. Because we want to make way for the next thought as we're going. Dr. David Hawkins, the well-known author of Power versus Now, that Bonnie mentioned earlier, great guy, he says that higher thoughts of consciousness, such as love, are subjective. That means that they can't really be proven to exist, they can't be measured, and they really don't work in the thinking mind. So at some point, as we move up the scale of consciousness, you just have to let go of the thinking thoughts and just be. Another aspect of the concept is that the lower the consciousness of thought, the more complicated it is. So like a low-level understanding of a concept, has very many complicated rules that are difficult to understand, and they kind of drain you. So let's talk about a few. A lie, right? If you lie, you have to spend a lot of energy remembering who you told what, when, so that lie is consistent, right? Takes a lot of energy doing all that. I learned that when I was young, and I'm kind of spacey, so I don't remember anyway, so I never got away with them, so I just said, forget it. Too much work. I'll just take my lumps telling the truth. And, Or another one that is really, really complicated, which I'm sure we can all relate to, is drama. Right? Drama. Who has drama in their lives? Right? Who has a family, right? If you have a family, you probably got some drama somewhere there. How much energy does that take from you? Lots, right? See all these gray hairs? But as your consciousness raises, life will become simpler. So this is a clue to tell you that you're on the right path. The less energy, the less rules that there are, the simpler life is, you know you're going in the right direction. And then finally, as we move up the scale of consciousness scale, things blend all into one simple truth. Life is easy, and life is simple. There are many paths to this source, but there's still only one truth. So now I'd like to read a short story from one of my favorite books of all time. It's by Richard Bach, Illusions. Once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. The current of the river swept silently over them all, young and old, rich and poor, good and evil. The current going its own crystal way, knowing only its own crystal self. Each creature in its own manner clung tightly to the twigs and rocks of the river bottom, for clinging was their way of life, and resisting the current that each had learned from birth. But one creature said at last, "I am tired of clinging, though I cannot see with my eyes. I trust that the current knows where it is going, and I shall let go and let it take me where it shall." Here I shall die of boredom. The other creatures laughed and said, "Fool! Let go of that current you worship will throw you tumbled and smashed across the rocks, and you will die quicker than boredom." But the one heeded them not, and taking a breath, he did let go, and at once was tumbled and smashed by the current across the rocks. Yet in time, as the creature refused to cling again and again, the current lifted him free from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more. And the creatures downstream, to whom he was a stranger, cried, "See, a miracle! A creature like ourselves, yet he flies! See the Messiah, come to save us all!" And then one carried in the current said, "I am no more a Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free, if only we dare to let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure." But they cried the more, "Savior! Savior!" all the while clinging to their rocks. And when they looked again, he was gone, and they were left alone, making stories of a Savior. The fear and the pain of tumbling across the rocks is symbolic of this human condition. We create and cling to our old belief systems, like those little river creatures clinging to the rocks. We have created those beliefs in many cases to cover up and hide from our inner pain. We convince ourselves that it's okay to cling to these rocks and these beliefs, so we don't have to feel our emotions. Our beliefs are created to hide our emotions, and every one of those beliefs is self-limiting. What happens to many is that we do a little work to heal the pain and then we stop short. We do just enough to relieve the immediate crisis. And we don't continue the effort to get to the root of the issue until it comes up again. We have become numb to what we really feel and weave a story about this, how we are done with this or that experience. You know, I hear so many times people come to me and say, I'm done with my experience with my parents. And when they say that, I go, that's where we need to work on. You know. But we clamp the cover down tight on these emotions and we convince ourselves that all is good. We cling to that proverbial rock. Or we see our reflection of our pain in the faces of others that challenge us. And then we externalize our stuff and we blame them for our internal pain. And we call ourselves the victim. And so when you see this and when you find yourself saying, oh, they did that to me, take a look inside. Because usually, if not always, it's just covering up some part of you that's inside of you, that some thought or some feeling that is erroneous, that you're believing, or some emotion that you're hiding. Every single belief that we have is self-limiting. Pay attention to your body. The body-mind theory very clearly states that every emotional issue is tied to some part of your body. So look at your body to find out what clues you're hiding from. We all know somebody who's a pain in the neck, right? You know? Or I'm carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. Where do you feel it? Right here? Right here? So, let me ask you this. Is there unhealth or pain anywhere in your body right now? Every pain is some emotion that hasn't been processed. And these are all clues that you can use to help yourself on your journey. Another way to see if you're lost in your self-limiting beliefs is if you need to evangelize them. To convince everyone that your opinion is the only correct one, to have the need to defend your beliefs. Some people actually even kill over their beliefs. Another clue that you are hiding from your pain is if you can't silence your mind when you go to meditate or to try to relax. Thoughts are false beliefs that we have made up to hide from our emotions and to hide from our divinity. Dig deep into those thoughts and find that self-limiting belief. Guess what? Eckhart Tolle, the famous author of The Power of Now, says that we are not living in the now if we are thinking. That's an interesting thought. Did you ever meditate and you find that beautiful, peaceful place? And then suddenly a thought pops in your head and you're like, I lost it. Right? This is beyond thought. What I'm talking about here is beyond the thought. It's the subjective world. But I personally kind of have a hard time understanding Eckhart Tolle and what he teaches. You know, it's because I live, like I'm sure a lot of us do, in my thinking mind. I'm always thinking, what do I have to do next? What do I have to do this? Life says I have to be ready. Life says I have to have this done by 2 o'clock this afternoon. Every thought is an affirmation that reinforces an unconscious mental model that we have about reality. Every thought is an affirmation that reinforces an unconscious mental model that we have about reality. So, sometimes they say that you have to hit bottom before you can grow. It's because most people cling to those proverbial rocks as if their life depends on it, and they don't change, and they don't change, and they cling even though the current is calling them to say fly. But yet they cling to those rocks until Spirit comes up and hits them with the 2x4 upside the head. And it takes a major catastrophe to get someone to stop and let go, to figure out what is not working. And this usually happens when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? This is when we let go of those rocks of belief and learn to fly like those river creatures in illusions. We can all do it. It's all there within every one of us today. But do we really need to hit bottom to learn to fly? No, we do not. But a good start is to follow the principles of the beginner's mind. So, 1, question every belief that you have. 2, do you feel that you know everything that there is on a subject? There's always another perspective to everything. Do you feel life is very complicated? Whose life is complicated? Then you have too many beliefs. Throw them in the trash can. Do you feel your title or degree makes you special? Throw it in the trash. Do you blame others for your hurt feelings? Take ownership for what you feel. A false belief is hiding behind it. It's hiding behind that blame. Are you always tired? Then simplify your life. Let go of the drama. Must you prove to others that your belief is always the best? Oops. Well, I've been doing pretty good so far. Good thing I don't play basketball. Do you cling to your beliefs as if your life depended on it? Then let go and learn to fly. Do you feel that you deserve a seat in the front of the room because of all of your accomplishments? They're nodding. Then sit in the back of the room and love it. There you go. Do you have a hard time silencing your mind? Then honor those thoughts and then let them go as unreal. And just be right here. Practice good diet, exercise, and meditation daily. The principle of the beginner's mind is a great start on your road to inner peace. By becoming aware and letting go of our beliefs, we are clearing out that old junk. We can learn a new, more peaceful state of being, and we can raise our consciousness without the tragedy. The willingness and courage to accept that you could be wrong and check those limiting beliefs. Right in the trash. There we go. That's the first step towards your salvation and happiness. So which one of these are you? Are you the type of person that clings to the rocks of old limiting self-beliefs? Nobody's going to raise their hand. Or are you the type that is ready to let go of those rocks, take responsibility for your stuff, and learn to fly like you were meant to? Huh? Woo-hoo! All right. Let's go flying. Thank you.